In 2 months to go before the UK is due to keep the EU, how are firms and the UK economics faring? The economics's elasticity via the turbulence of the Brexit trial has been especially worthwhile, on to Chancellor Philip Hammond. But several business community complaint to include been put by unparalleled blood pressure. Which is departure on. It's unfeasible to put total numbers on how jobs, exit and invest include been struck so distant. No one knows how these will include fared had the result to the plebiscite in 2016 been various. Some factors include affecting the industry environmental, not low slower increase in the likes of China and Europe, but down there is a band of testimony how can offer us an concept of how UK companies are faring. On the person of it, no. The quantity of human beings involved is at an all-time top. But down there's a lot departure on by the shallow. Banks' accident plans indicate installation up option basis in the likes of Frankfurt, Paris or Dublin. Person banks are coy on demonstration to lot. Which we don't aware is if jobs created in Europe cities such as Paris and Frankfurt are at the charge of capacity ones there, or the definitive implications of the next trade relation in the EU, whenever how is coordinated. Time several, consisting JLR and Wade, include quoted Brexit while cut jobs, it has been a helping, quite rather than a decisive element. Car companies are cladding a earthquake upheaval in the person of retarding world consumer demand, excess and the change off of diesel engine. In preliminary of leaving, it is uncommon for firms to accuse Brexit one for job intermittent. Cook and small restaurant proprietor Jamie Oliver florid ridicule for making so during a few months of the plebiscite, in critics instead of accusing his industry pattern. As the ambiguity continues, companies may be setting employing plans on conduct, not low as they footlights up conducting on not deal accident plans. How impacts common occupation when T be named for a time. Down there has perhaps never been a superior period to be a trading mediator, or a industry advisor. Common occupation has extended to growth to recording levels with the plebiscite in June 2016. In full, £95 meter cost of contracts were decorated recent year to consulting firms to counsel the social segment on Brexit. And 20,000 more than civilian service staff include been involved with the plebiscite, in a cancellation to over trends. They are concentration in the departments largest struck by Brexit. And how's fare the social segment? Several companies go on to rental quickly for some reasons. Telecom's gigantic Openreach, for sample, has told how it will rental a future 3,000 engineering personnel to supporting its evacuation of complete fiber wideband. Industry invest is congestive and more than rather than 10% reduce rather than formal forecasts had forecasted preliminary to the plebiscite. A lift of the ambiguity could convince firms to begin conducting once again, a transactions dividend payment. But invest has been comparatively slow with the finance meltdown. Firms instead of opted to hover onto workers, as they are comparatively inexpensive. They may be ongoing the policy, that could assist explanation why job create has remained so elastic. And as business community accept accident plans, cash destined for invest may include been diverted. Drug manufacturer AstraZeneca has consumable £40 meter house additional test means as it increases its drug stock. Several are forge front in plans for a kind of reasons. Drug makers aren't the just ones accumulation. Related UK Foods, the business over Twinings Tea and Revita, has purchased up additional mechanism and packing to hinder destruction to delivery chains. Mondelez, the makers of Cadbury's, is stock up on product composition and the completed paper. In Magnificent Vine purchase an additional £8 meter in drinks, and Snuggle putting in more than coffee. Down there is a diminished hazard of us possessing to precede several of lifetime's luxuries. Of year, these additional stocks may not be necessary, and so the force and cash house lost in organize and store them will include been vain. But at the spot, lot companies sense they include no selection. The UK's output of the EU may be 2 months off, but for several Brexit has an impact already happened. Orders are frequently put in months in preliminary. Such for UK malting STI of the EU include dry up. STI, that is the UK's other greatest plough exportable, could draw a tariff of about 50% of the present marketplace cost. And it's not fair meal. At September's London Vogue 1 week, buyers were voiced concerns on placement orders for the springtime how might person destruction. Lot of the impacts of the work up to Brexit, as far as industry is worried, are potential to be interim, showing contingencies or ambiguity. The common effect on the economics will be a bit more clear while GDP figures are liberated in on a 1 week. And which following will rely on Westminster's actions. The effect of such, in everything line, may midget which we've seen so distant.